Okay, this time it's Fears and Confession of an Ortolan Chef by Eley Williams, another one from Atrib. This is not for the squeamish. If you're squeamish, maybe it's not for you. Fears and Confessions of an Ortolan Chef. In many ways, my workplace is the loveliest in the whole country. They are still songbirds, after all, even when they are screaming in the pot. You once told me that nobody could ever fall in love with a person whose job involved boiling birds in liquor. I did the usual thing and attempted to romanticize the delicacy of the dish and its traditions. I described the birds as ingredients. The word gourmand was used until, in horror at my pretensions, you set about tickling it from my vocabulary. You had wanted to move in with someone who made excellent sandwiches and the occasionally impressive dessert, but I began to wonder whether I was in danger of becoming something far more sinister in your eyes, all bloodlust and dirty tricks beneath a cloche. Fear of this made me switch tactic, and I began talking about the specific dish in terms of the brandied birds as being like insects trapped in amber or trapped syrup on a tree trunk. You asked whether I ever thought about the words eau de vie on the brandy bottle's label and moved to the colder side of the bed. Hungrier and sadder and fatter with love than I have ever been before, I stopped explaining the method by which the meal is cooked and the rituals involved in its consumption, and tried to push it from my mind. The next day, I came home stinking of illegal food to find a handwritten list on the kitchen counter. I picked up the piece of paper and read it while you explained we should attempt an experiment or regimen for our first month living together. Grease from work smudged the margins of the piece of paper in my hands and turned its corners translucent. You had compiled a syllabus for us. For a month, we only read books that had been banned after publication. We ate unethically and often in bed, and we ignored the DVDs that lay taped up in our packing crates and instead sought out films that had at some point been censored or outlawed upon release. The content of these films ranged from cannibals to mad doctors to Lloyd George. They were bad for our newly veal bulky stomachs and bleary eyes. The kitchen where I work blinds the ortolans and keeps them alive in lightless boxes beneath the sink. According to custom, the birds are then fed on figs every day until they double over, at which time it is my job to drown them individually in Armagnac. There is also a tradition required of those who demand to eat ortolan, which involves a certain amount of pomp and prop cupboards. It is a complete irritation for our waiters and the restaurant's laundry bill. According to the rite, each diner should cover his or her head with a large embroidered napkin. Beneath this hood, one can bite off the head of the bird and eat its body, bones and all. I sometimes catch glimpses of the customers during the meal through the kitchen doors, and they look like they are attending a séance or waiting for their hangmen. If you're in the know, ours is the restaurant to contact for this banned meal. My friend who works on reception tells me that most of our bookings are made over the telephone in such hushed whispers that the guests regularly have to be told to speak up. The orders come flooding in. Our assiduous staff are trained in discretion and how best to evade eye contact when pulling out chairs for our diners and taking their coats. Our restaurant caters for whole groups who seek illicit songbirds. We have a back room that is reserved precisely for parties who order this dish, the only one fitted with a dimmer switch. The more I think about it, I suppose the meal is not really like a séance or like gallows at all. Although an ortolan is generally eaten in silence or with a performance of silence that is maintained in order to imply gravitas. You can hear the smacking of lips and groans of enjoyment beneath the napkins. There is a general feel of boardroom shoulder slapping and people talking about golf over dessert. As our first month living together drew to an end, I found a spreadsheet on your laptop. You are researching titles of more banned books to read in your own time. I start to think that stealing looks at you while you sleep is like being in a kitchen and knowing where the knives are kept. I grow sick of metaphor and sick of the idea of the bird. I am certainly sick of having pride in any talent I might possess in terms of the bird's preparation. They're just claws and fluff and hard mouth parts on a plate. I told you once about the day the dishwasher had flooded because some leftovers had worked their way into the machine's filter and clogged the drains. I was nominated to sort out the problem, and I spent the night elbow deep behind the dishwasher, twirling a length of wire along the pipe until I felt something snag. The open-mouthed little head did not meet my eye as I pulled it from the grey water and slough in the sink. As I mopped up and washed my hands, I could hear the ortolans beneath the sink sing a little louder as they sensed that I was close. I don't capture the birds, I told you in our early days in our new house as I helped you unpack. We pay people to do that. This clarification seemed important. Do you ever think where they come from? I just know Ortolan pays the big bucks. Not Ortolan, ortolans. The birds sitting in hedgerows and trees, being a nuisance under cafe tables. We serve goose, not geese. We serve beef, not cows. They are poached, you say. In Armagnac, I say. You let me deliver the line, and we listened to the sounds of the traffic outside, and when you asked me to leave the room, I made my way to the kitchen to make you coffee. When I returned, the door was closed. I left the cup outside on the landing, cleaned my hands, went back to the kitchen and unpacked 3 of your favourite plates from their bubble wrap and broke them one by one against the kitchen counter. We certainly make our elite tent-headed diners pay through the nose for the privilege of forbidden food. We buy them from a boy who wears a big silver watch and bright white sneakers. He charges over 150 euros for each ortolan bunting and brings them to an alley around the back of the kitchen every month, his bag pulsing with birds still fluttering and hot angry. Before bedding down on our sofa for the night, I checked that there were no dinner grease from the day left glazed against my skin. As far as I can remember, you have only ever appeared in one of my dreams. In the dream, I am preparing a fantastic breakfast for you. It was definitely you, although I did not recognize the kitchen nor the bedroom to which I brought the plates on a tray. There were ironed napkins on the tray with my initials on them. As you sat up and ate the dish, delicately, fastidiously, gnawing around the bones of the bird with cat-like enjoyment, you did not stop smiling. You kept smiling and kept my gaze even as you licked your plate clean. Your waking diet would never allow this. neither the food nor the gusto, and I remember as you pushed the tray away, you ignored the napkins, moved forward beneath the bedclothes, and wiped your face clean on my face. The rest is all a little hazy, but I do remember that the dream us then read the paper together for dream hours under an embroidered coverlet. I remember that I breathed on your feet when you told me that they were cold. You thanked me, and then you looked in my eyes and told me in a strange high voice that you could not see me. You told me that your breath felt on fire. Then you smiled again and passed me the magazine supplement, and I woke up covered in a cold, scorching sweat. When I tell you about this dream, you say that you have had a recurring nightmare since we moved in, where I come through the door with feathers in my hair and my thumbs stinking of brandy. I then beg you to lead me through what I insist on calling the most important doors of the house. In the dream, I beg you to help me pull all our bed linen, towels and curtains up over my body and hide my face. I used to think that a beak must be the most brittle part of any face until I caught sight of my eyes in the bathroom mirror. You have started coming home at night with lipstick on your sleeves and catkins on your hair, but I do not want to ask. In between your breaths at night, I think I can hear the sound of tooth and bone from the day's kitchen. It is louder than any chopping board or dinner gong. Each evening I watch the diners' heads emerge sleek with sweat when they finally remove their napkins. I had forgotten what it was like to feel fine with showing that kind of desire. This week, when the boy with the big silver watch and the sneakers arrives at the arranged time, I will grab his bag from him and rip it apart right there in the alley. The birds that he brings have their wings clipped, so will not be able to take to the sky as I would like. As I give the boy a kicking, and he gives me a kicking, and we grapple together on the ground, fighting tooth and nail by the bins outside the kitchen, the birds will have to scatter along the gutter of the street. I'll talk to you about wings tonight, rather than hands. I'll mute the radio, take the heat off, put some bottles down, and whatever they're marching for or against on the news tonight, I will make sure that I'll hold you and sing from dawn until dawn for both our sakes, and for all the little songs I've stopped. That was Fears and Confessions of an Ortolan Chef by Eley Williams. Let me know what you thought. Thanks for listening.